Alright, welcome back. Before we end the stream today, I'm going to do something a little bit special, a little bit different. I'm going to be going over one of the articles that are posted on Tempo Storm. So I have a nice set of writers who produce one article per day for the website. They're written articles. And unfortunately, a lot of them don't really get the exposure that I think they should, and a lot of them are actually pretty good articles. So I decided to convert some of my favorite ones into videos and review and go over them in hopes to try and bring more awareness to our website and the fact that we have these articles coming out. So the first one that I decided to go over today is the top 7 tips to help you master Kael'thas by Corey Tincher. Alright, so if you're watching this live, the entire screen is green. I realize that. The reason for that is I'm basically using it as sort of like a green screen, because in the post-production process I'm going to be editing in slides and notes so you can follow along on where I am on the article. Alright, so here is the introduction that Corey provided me. Kael'thas is one of the most valuable assets to have on your roster. He's been crushing Hero League dreams and swaths of fire since his release, and recent balance changes haven't seemed to limit his domination. Kael'thas was patched a little while back, and they removed the talent where Flame Strike would apply Living Bomb, and people thought that he was done for, no one would ever play him again. That clearly was not the case, because he's being played very regularly right now. So here are Corey Tincher's top 7 tips that'll help you learn how to truly master this incredible hero. Alright, tip number 1, pick your targets for Chain Bomb wisely. So Living Bomb with the Chain Bomb talent upgrade at level 13 should be driving a vast majority of your damage as Kael'thas. And enemy teams who aren't perfectly conscious of its explosions will be decimating each other both physically and psychologically. Of course, that's only if you're able to use Chain Bomb on the right targets at the right times. Finding the correct target in team fights to start the chain of bombs is a difficult thing to teach, and a lot of it will rely on instinct and rhythm. So here's an example. In general, you should look for players who just surged forward and will be making soft retreats back to the safety of their team's space. In other words, a Jaina who steps in for a cone of cold and starts to back away for her longer range abilities might be perfect as she delivers the bomb to her back line when she walks back. And even if she's aware of the danger and refuses to go back into her back line, then you've just separated her from her team and isolated her too far forward, and as Corey says, split their team up into bite-sized portions. And as you start to recognize these opportunities and capitalize on them with crisply timed Living Bombs, you'll see its utility as a chaotic force that adjusts enemy behavior in your favor. Number 2, don't precast Verdant Spheres, wait until you need it. So a lot of new players will constantly spam D as soon as it's off cooldown, so it's ready by default on their next ability. That's a really bad habit to develop because you never know when you'll need a specific upgraded ability at a moment's notice. Alright, so imagine that you're on a way to contest an objective with your Verdant Spheres preloaded. Your plan is to go there and hit W twice. Unfortunately, on your way there, a Zero Tool pops out to kill you, to assassinate you. So you're forced to cast your Gravity Lapse to survive, but unfortunately your Gravity Lapse is an upgraded Gravity Lapse, and you've basically wasted your trait because it's just you one-on-one Zero Tool. So not only did you waste your trait, but you also slowed down your team's ability to contest the objective because you lost a lot of damage that you could have had with those double Living Bombs. Now of course that's an extremely specific example, but there are many others like it. And Verdant Spheres gives you a lot of utility for very specific scenarios that are really hard to predict. So rather than planning too far ahead, just react in the moment. Alright, tip number 3. Always look for opportunities to clear lanes. Kael'thas is unparalleled when it comes to wave clear in the mid to late game, and that makes you a fantastic defender who can peel off for about half a minute and clean up any messy lanes while other heroes and your allies prioritize either mercenary camps or maybe some small smart skirmishes. So keeping an active eye out for these opportunities and acting on them without delay will make your team more efficient. And it's even better if you ping that you're on your way, so other teammates who don't really have that great of a wave clear aren't going to waste travel time going there, and they're not going to waste their intentions, so they can do something else in that time. But just be smart about lane defense, and you'll soak experience and fortify your siege defenses better than almost any other hero. Tip number 4, don't save Phoenix for the perfect moment. So a lot of people have a tendency to save their heroic for that one shining moment that'll win the game and save the damsel in distress. With Kael'thas, you can't afford to do that because Phoenix is on such an absurdly short cooldown that if you only use it in team fights or when contesting objectives, you'll be wasting about 2 to 3 rotations of the cooldown. So you shouldn't hesitate to drop it down, for example, to do mercenary camps, to zone out for a fleeing teammate, or even to like chip down a fort's health. But of course, don't waste it on something if like an objective is spawning in 5 seconds, like a pants on head idiot. But don't cherish it like a newborn baby bird either. And remember, it's literally named after a bird that always comes back from the dead. Alright, tip number 5, let your lane push to your gate against gank comps. Now, this tip will land closer to home for novice players more than it will for those with a little bit more experience. But new players seem to think that you must always be killing minions and always pushing, or else you're failing your lane. So they'll outpush their opponent in lane and accompany, and they'll escort their minions all the way up to the enemy gate, and then they'll get blown up by like a Murd and Tyrande butcher gank squad. So obviously you were way too far forward, and it's okay to let minions push closer to your gate. Now, of course, you might lose a little bit of tower ammo once in a while as you tidy up the minions that are coming in, but you'll be doing it all from the security and the coziness of your base, like your turrets, your structures, and you absolutely cannot risk becoming early game gank fodder as Kael'thas, because your lack of escapes and health means that you're going to need to play it safe in the early game in order to spike in power towards the mid and late game. And giving up some of that siege damage early game is much more worth it to make sure that they don't snowball out of control by killing you over and over again. Alright, number 6, positioning is everything. Kael'thas is probably one of the most demanding heroes when it comes to good positioning. So, as we just mentioned earlier, your general lack of mobility and survivability means that you're going to have to be totally aware of everything that's going on around you at all times. And sometimes that means sitting next to your support to make sure you're healed very easily. Sometimes it means sitting next to your tank to make sure you can get peeled. The phrase that Corey uses, actually, I found this funny, is that sometimes it means becoming the pocket banana of your tank for an instant peel. I like that pun. And it's always going to mean that you have your gravity lapse on a hair trigger in a full 360 around your body. And this is going to be another thing that you need to learn from experience and just dying over and over again. The key here is to be fully aware of where you are, why you're there, and how to prevent your death the next time the situation comes around. And finally, number 7, place your Phoenix to hit specific targets. The Phoenix can be used in a lot of different ways. It's awesome to drop like dead center on an opponent's head for maximum damage, to clear up a mercenary camp. We actually just went over this in a previous tip, or to zone out for an objective fight, all that. But a lot of people are a little bit careless about the placement of their Phoenix, and a lot of people call close enough as good enough. And as a master Kael'thas player, you can't call close enough as good enough. You're going to have to position it extremely carefully in order to control the patterns and movements of the Phoenix. So the Phoenix is always going to attack the closest character, and it's not going to hit anything outside the radius. It's pretty obvious. So this means that if you position thoughtfully, you can leave their tank outside the Phoenix circle, while their squishy Jaina is trapped right in the middle. So she'll absorb all the damage and all the shots, rather than like getting hit only by a portion of the shots or taking reduced splash damage. In most cases, you're going to want to maximize its area of effect damage by encircling as many people as possible, but sometimes you're going to want to isolate that low health enemy and get those extra 1 or 2 Phoenix shots off to kill them and finish them off. All right, and his conclusion, if you're mindful of these 7 tips, you'll see a lot of success with Kael'thas. He's a very powerful hero thanks to his basic kit, and absolutely ridiculous when played by someone who is a true master Kael'thas. So there it is. There's the first video version of the first article. I'll be picking out a few more. I think the next one I'm going to do, also by Corey Danger. He writes some pretty good articles. The next one that I'm going to do that seems like it's going to be in pretty high demand by the community is the top 10 heroes to buy first for Hero League. Because that's a question that I see popping up a lot. And these videos are geared towards like the general audience in general. Here's the Storm community. So I'm generally going to be going through articles that address very popular and frequently asked questions or things that a lot of people would want to learn about. And I think that's it. So for those who tuned in live to my stream, thanks for showing up, and I'll see you guys next time. As for the video on demand video watchers on YouTube, we'll see you guys tomorrow.
We know that Lieutenant Morales has the potential to be a really great character, but overall her health pool is just so low that she's yet to see very much play or effective play.